The first time I ever went to Vietnam, I was 21. We visited my uncle's noodle stall, which is in the house that my mom grew up in Phan Thiec. The first time I had that bowl, my mom was like, you should try this, it's really good. It was so simple. It was just like wheat noodles that were really yellow, these little dumplings in a very light broth. It just stopped me in my tracks. Hello. My name is Vien Dobui. I'm the owner and founder of CôNG TL BaltiT here in Portland, Maine. There's such a deeply ingrained seafood culture here in Maine, obviously with so much coastline. And to me, it was a very obvious leap from that to like the coastline and the seafood in Vietnam. Dinner was one of the few rituals we had as a family. Hello. I'm doing good. Big meal for lots of people sitting around. I think it must have been for my parents the same thing. Like a glimpse of home, you know, something familiar, something joyous. I'm gonna get also the 50-pound bag of rice.
50 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was watching cooking shows a lot still as a kid. And I remember seeing someone cook risotto and then trying to do the same thing with like a can of mushroom soup and rice in a microwave. And it was inedible and it was terrible. But yeah, I remember watching that, thinking that I could do it, and I did it. And then somehow that kind of kept going. But I never really connected that sort of curiosity back to Vietnamese food. I kind of always felt a little bit outside of what it meant to be Vietnamese. And I also, yeah, definitely like in high school had a lot of shame around it too, you know? And it wasn't until I got older and like lived away from home and I started to miss the food that I grew up eating that I wanted to try to recreate it and then understand it more. Morning, Casey. When I was thinking about opening the restaurant, I kind of wanted to ask myself really like what else reminds me of Vietnamese food? What else feels really elemental to me? There's a degree of subjectivity to Vietnamese food, and it is like almost like antithetical to the sort of European cooking traditions. You think about a bowl of pho, it always comes with like tons of sauces on the table, a dish of herbs, a lime, and there's no directions on how to do it. This is our main source of ingredients. Like, I'm working really hard to make a bowl of pho as good as I possibly can, but then when I sell it to you, I have to give that up. And then I have to give it over to you, the customer, the eater, to do what they want with it, you know? And there's something ego killing about that I really enjoy. I became aware that my uncle was gonna close, like he wanted to stop doing it. And that was when I was like, I have to like somehow learn it. And so, yeah, I went to like spend like 2 months with my family in Vietnam and work at the noodle stall and learn the recipe. It's super hot. Everyone's smoking, myself included. And we would make it in the family kitchen. There was like a big wooden table that had like a motor at the end of it. We'd mix like 8 kilos of flour, like huge batches, all by hand. So we spend the first hour just mixing the dough, getting it into like a ball. And then you divide that up and then you flatten it out. And you would like roll out these sheets, fold it, roll it out, fold it, roll it out, fold it. We just did that again and again and again, these massive like shawls, you know, that he would just like drape over his whole arm and feed through this machine. And he would work so fast. I wasn't explained, I was just shown by feel. No measurements were written down. He was great at making noodles, not a great teacher. And that drew a lot on my sort of like experience with note-taking, being very careful. Taste every batch that we made to sort of like put it all together in my head. My grandma would portion them into little bundles And I told him, I was like, I'm doing this so I can open my place one day, which he thought was really funny. I did not do a good job. I really struggled with the noodles. Yeah. Lion, can I be on one of the candy stoves? I'll check with prep too. One of my first days there, he called me CôNG TL BጲT, which is like an insult. So it means like someone that's like aristocratic and like precious, not good with their hands, you know? When he called me that, I remember that's what they used to call me when I was a kid. Yeah. And so I was like, that's 100% the name of the restaurant. I've been here 10 years now. Maine does not have the Vietnamese community that I'm used to having. I thought, if we're gonna open a business here, why not try to foster or find or tap into the community that I feel like I'm missing. I think the scale of the city made it very approachable for me, while also having like a really enthusiastic and engaged like food community. More than anything, it's the people and the culture that sort of have informed how the restaurant feels, how it operates. The sort of joy and magic that I find in cooking has less to do with being a chef and less about like the power that I wield over things and more about the traditions that I want to participate in.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, come in, please. For me to be able to see someone else who's not connected to my family making this noodle, how was it? Like I never would have thought that recipe would make it all the way here. And it can still like stop me in my tracks, very much in the way that my uncle's noodle bowl did. Yeah, it's like one of the most joyous moments that I can have running the restaurant. Yeah,
That's it.